I'd like to thank you again, once again, Anne-Marie, for joining us on Cell to Cell Health.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me again. Yeah, my name's Anne-Marie and I'm a herbalist on the Gold Coast, and David's asked me to talk about herbs again. Everyday usage of herbs is something that I thought might be helpful in applying what we call herbal medicine, but really if you're looking at herbs, you want to use them as foods first, or a food maintenance idea. As also has been spoken about Terence on his videos with the 6 or 7 main components of life that we need, food and water is definitely important, and herbs can be incorporated in these areas really well. So food, yeah, probably the most common usages of herbs in our maintenance lifestyle would be the food, water and smell. Just in food in general, most of us eat breakfast, lunch and dinner hopefully as our general fuel for the body, and you can apply herbs really simply. Fresh is best, or dried. Just simple things like if you had breakfast, banana on your toast, you know, if you put cinnamon on top of the banana, it can make the sugar metabolism in your body of the banana, of the carbohydrates in that food, just works so much better. In fact, excuse me, in India they apply cinnamon as a medicine for diabetics. What are the usages? Well, the water, when you're using herbs in your water, of course we generally know it as a tea. If you're going to make up the herbs, you would be using the aerial parts, or the top parts of the herbs as a tea or an infusion.
That's the leaves, I take it, is it?
Yeah, the leaves,
yeah.
And the flowers or the stems. You can do all those soft bits, generally soft. When it comes to the woody or hard parts like the bark or the root underground, then you would make it as a decoction. Now, to make a tea or an infusion, most people know that already, you need to put it in an enclosed environment like a teapot. This is if you want to get the most out of the herb in your water or your fluids. So you need to have it enclosed, because the enclosement or the entrapment of the evaporation from the tea actually has volatile oils and herbal medicinal constituents that are really valuable, and they'll get lost if they can't go out of the steam. So that's why you enclose it with a teapot. That's why those claws aren't that really medicinally valuable if you want the most out of the tea. So you make it as a teapot and let it sit for a good 20 minutes, and then you'll get more of the constituents or the medicinal value of the herbs come out. And then when you drink it, yeah, you'll just get more of it and be better for you.
Can you use tea? Once you've used it and you don't end up using it all, is there any other use that you can use for tea? What's it, like a cold tea?
That's a really good point, because I love the economy of life in general, and I always advise people to use that tea that they've made up at least twice. And then of course you can chuck it on the compost. That'd be really good. Yeah. Or you could use it as a like if that particular herb that you drunk for tea was valuable for it, like, because there's many ways to get value of herbs. The teas, like we said, I've said the decoction, poultices, so you could use that macerated herbs that are left in the teapot. You could put that in a cloth and put it on some wound, but then you'd need to know what herb was relevant and all that. True. But yeah, generally, at least definitely use the tea leaves or flowers twice. Like, just retop it and use it within a 24-hour period. Yeah, you can refrigerate it for maybe 2 days, but definitely not longer. Yeah, that's the way I'd reuse the stuff that's in the teapot. Definitely, just, you know, you can have herbal teas instead of other drinks.
Is there any particular ones that spring to mind that are...
Well, the thing about herbal teas is it's sometimes better to have certain ones away from meals, because, as I've said before, there's constituents or parts of a plant that will actually inhibit the absorption or assimilation of, which is a part of metabolism, of food. So if you have something like peppermint's high in tannins, which is a hydrolyzed protein. And if you have that when you're eating, it will actually inhibit the absorption of some of the qualities that are in the food. So you're better off having peppermint tea actually away from a meal. Chamomile's okay because chamomile's got about half of what peppermint's got. So chamomile's actually a good one to have with meals. Chinese tea, which is, it's a plant, it's a herb, and people know it as green tea, which is just less processed black tea. It's exactly the same plant, Camellia sinensis, if that's the way I pronounce it correctly. And that has a huge amount of tannins in it, so more than peppermint. So if you actually had Chinese tea with a meal, that would inhibit the absorption of that meal greatly, particularly iron. So, you know, and there's repercussions of that down the track. If you have something like that, you can have end up having too much iron in your blood rather than in your tissues, and that crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so to get the most out of your herbs in a fluid, pick herbs that don't have don't have a high content of tannin, like the chamomile, and that's the main general one over the board, because now we have supermarket products where you can buy chamomile, echinacea, dandelion, lots of different herbs, but when in doubt, have them away from your meal, because in general you should drink a lot less when you're having a meal anyway, because you don't want to dilute the hydrochloric acid too much of your stomach, because that'll inhibit the breakdown of proteins in your stomach. So understanding how your body works, that's really important when you're using herbs. I've spoken of infusions, which is the tea. If you want to get the most out of the root of a plant, like dandelion root's really popular. Great alternative to coffee. Not saying coffee's bad for you, but there are people that really shouldn't drink coffee because it works hard on your heart, works hard on your liver, and it works hard on your adrenal glands. So if you're sort of the person that goes into a fight-flight response really quickly and gets a bit anxious, then the coffee will definitely make your body work even harder. So you can go for dandelion root. Now if you want dandelion root, the most out of dandelion root, if you're having it at home, then you make it into a decoction. Did you stop it? No. You make it into a decoction. And a decoction is where you use the root of the plant and you put it in a saucepan. I'm going old terms here, 1 ounce, which is actually not that old because the old terms with herbs is even like drachma and stuff. So say, not so recent, 1 ounce of herb to about a pint of water, which is really showing my age, about 600 mils, and then you bring that to the boil and then simmer it for about 40 minutes. And that will bring out the qualities in the root or the bark or the hard part of the plant, and you'll get more medicinal value out of the dandelion root, because of dandelion root. Of course, dandelion root is very valuable for the liver, as opposed to the leaf, dandelion leaf, which we can drink, is valuable for the kidneys. So you're looking at different parts for different parts of the herbs. So yeah, you'll get just more out of your fluids and your herbs if you make them a little bit different. Same with your cooking, like herbs we drink, we eat, and we can put in our foods. Things like seeds are herbs. When you cook, the Ayurvedic or Indian method is medicinally, is to start very basic. So what you would do is you would get your oil heated up, preferably sesame, and then you would pick the seeds that you want, generally starting with mustard seed, and pop it in the oil, and when that pops, the aroma comes out. That's a certain chemical reaction has happened. Then you're going to start to get more out of your herbs in your food when you cook it that way. And then you just add your garlic, which is another herb, great herb, and the onion, which is a great herb, and that's your basis for any Indian cooking, rather than, bless their soul, the pre-made sauces. So yeah, so if you add that to start with, and then you just do whatever you like, add your vegetables or whatever, and you'll get more out of your herbs there. And the other area that's a very common way of using herbs in our everyday life is, of course, the aromatic, but on the external, so your skin, your aromatherapy, your bath salts, your bath oils, your massages and all that. And even just the evaporation when someone is sick in the house, people burn oils. So if you're burning oils, just simple things like eucalyptus, great first aid herb. Sorry, if someone's sick in the house, just burn eucalyptus because it's got great antimicrobial and lots of wonderful properties that'll help stabilise the sickness, help them to get a little bit better, and help prevent other people from getting sick. This is what they used in hospitals at the turn of the 19th, 20th century.
It's
they actually used
very
it.
Powerful. What's
it
the
is.
smell is the eucalyptus, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Especially if you've got a cold and put it
yeah.
in water,
yeah.
over hot water and put your towel over your head and
it's
everything.
great for, well, see, it's wonderful there because that's a respiratory illness and the way you're using it is for a respiratory, you want a respiratory response quickly. So you're going to get it through the nose. The medicinal value of the herb's going to be sent, very quickly to the nose area, and it's going to start to do all of its wonderful immune response quickly.
But from an everyday use, it's
Oh,
also good for clearing out your nasal passages. And
David,
whatever.
I just love to talk. May I add, in Japan, it is, and I remember this from school, in Japan, we were told by my scientist teacher, she was a scientist first, which was wonderful, that the eucalyptus oil is the most commonly used oil in Japan because, and in the workplace, it increases work productivity by 50%. Because it not only works respiratory on the immune system, it works on the brain too, and it keeps you alert. So there's another one.
That's a good one. Yes.
Yeah. Well, rosemary is another really good one. Remember the saying, rosemary for remembrance. Now we use it for the war, for remembrance. It's a common saying, right?
Yeah.
So that it's actually, rosemary for remembrance is for the memory. It's a brilliant herb for memory. So just if you go to the herb shop, buy a couple of pots of herbs, use those for your medicinal, for your culinary value, as well as the medicinal. So you just break off stuff rather than buying it in the supermarket, grocery, or bless their soul, in the pastes, which you're not going to get a lot of value medicinally wise. So yeah, just make your own little pot. If you haven't got a good area of garden space, then just grow your own pots. Rosemary for remembrance, a great one for just breaking off if you need to sharpen up your astuteness. Definitely very good. Yeah, so there's three main areas for herbs, common usages. Food, in your actual cooking, water in your actual teas, liquid application, and your baths and your cleanliness and your hygiene and smelling would be your bath salts and your aromatherapy. And
just one thing that comes to mind was you were mentioning before about the 6 tastes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 6 tastes of, which is based on the Indian philosophy, Ayurvedic, which means the study of life. So they focus more on health rather than disease, which is just fabulous. So the 6 tastes of life of the foods that we need is sweet, salty, pungent, bitter, astringent, and sour. And the Indians say that if you have those tastes in every single meal, then there's far less chance of ever getting an imbalance, because it goes on to further, the philosophy of it is those tastes, they are associated with the qualities of cooling and heating, and then those particular qualities are associated with particular qualities of your body, as well as the outside, because in the Eastern philosophy, whether it's Chinese or Indian, they actually associate we are the micro of the macro, and vice versa. So whatever's happening in the environment, external environment, is going to affect our internal environment, and vice versa. So if you can incorporate those 6 tastes just to start within the food and the drink, that will help keep a balance of the internal environment, which will therefore be not so affected by what's going on in the outside. It'll help because it'll help your liver function better, and if there's pollution outside, your liver will be able to detoxify it better, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
That's all excellent stuff. I'd like to thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure. Pleasure. Thank you, David.
Okay.